find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
The clap! Oh no!
I know! Watch out!
It's coming! Coming around the mountain when he comes.
Yeah,
Oh
this
my God,
is spooky
cut that
season.
Out. Gross.
I was gonna say, ghosts are scary, but so are STDs.
Take this opportunity to go get tested. Hi, everybody. This was wild.
In olden days, a glimpse of femur was only for morbid dreamers, but you're not alone. Bring anything bones. Two goofy gals with deathly interest go on a skeleton inquest in your headphones. Anything bones.
Hello and welcome to Anything Bones. I'm Sophie, just feet from shore, Schwartz.
And I'm Katelyn, mysterious disappearance heart. And this is the podcast where we talk about bones, bone-related topics, and whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah, and it's been an eventful September so far.
Ah, yes. Tell them about your September, and then I will tell them about my September.
Seems equal to me. Well, my spooky season was off to a start with Seattle Sketchfest, which was a huge weekend, felt like a non-stop party, but also work. Because I had a show of my own with Seattle's own Maple Daddies, internationally renowned sketch group, the Maple Daddies. And just before the festival started, I was messaged by the group Pointless Appliance from New York, and they were like, hey, some of our members aren't going to be able to come. We met you in Toronto. Would you like to fill in?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I got to learn some parts really quickly and hop on stage with a New York group.
That's cool. Damn.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I got to kind of, say my jokes and then leave,
Love that.
And then our show, of course, went super well. We missed you.
I know, I missed you guys too.
But always in our hearts and always in the gum wall.
Always preserved forever, DNA in the gum wall.
I hate to tell you this, but I think they do power wash it yearly.
I know, but it never goes away because memories never die.
Unlike gum, memories never die.
That's right.
How has the precursor to the spooky month been to you?
Oh, it's been all right. Things are going good. I'm back on the mend after my little time with mono. I don't know how to say it.
With your mono-e-mono fight?
My time with mono-e-mono. It was, that's been something. I was warned, but it's an energy zapper for sure.
Aww.
And it lingered, but I'm feeling much better now. Yeah, not much is going on in the early part of the month, but next weekend I have a wedding for my cousin, and then the week after that, I'm going to Disneyland, so it's going to be a busy end of the month.
And you're going to a costume party in Disneyland, right?
Yeah, so it's called the Oogie Boogie Bash.
Oh my God, Caitlin.
Yeah. Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas is going to be there.
Oh my God, you must shake his hand.
I'll try. Yeah, and we're going with my boyfriend's niece and nephew, so it's going to be fun to go trick-or-treating with them because that's a big pull for the party, but then you also get to meet villains, and what I'm excited about more so than meeting villains and characters, because that shit kind of freaks me out if I can't see their faces. I'm more excited for the short lines on the rides at California Adventure. So
hell yeah, get that nighttime riding in.
Yeah, but yeah, so we're doing almost a week at Disneyland, so it's gonna be fun.
Oh my God, that's gonna be amazing. Please take lots of pictures of you and your boyfriend being cute at Disneyland.
Oh, I certainly will. Spoiler alert, because we had to pick a costume. We've picked Tweedledee and Tweedledum from Alice in Wonderland.
Oh my God, that's so fun.
It's going to be fun. I didn't want to be a princess, but it had to be Disney adjacent, right?
I would love to hear your reasoning behind that.
I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it. I wanted to be something dumb and stupid, and Tweedledee and Tweedledum sounded just right up our alley.
That's amazing. I fully support that.
Yeah, thanks. So that'll be fun. That'll probably also be our Halloween costume at Halloween. So it's a twofer.
Look, Halloween is all about twofers.
Yeah, anytime you can kill two birds with one stone, it's Halloween.
Anytime you can kill a bird, it's Halloween.
Yeah.
But seriously, I was definitely a kid who was like, yes, I will respect the take one sign, but if there is no take one sign, I'm taking two.
That's still more reasonable than like taking the whole bucket, which I feel like a lot of kids did.
It's a dick move, especially if no one's home to replenish the bucket.
Yeah, who the fuck are you?
You know, those are the true monsters on Halloween.
That's right. Well, my tale is quite spooky, I will tell you.
Ooh, I am girding myself to be shivered.
It's quite spooky because it is an unsolved disappearance.
You bring me these head scratchers with no answers.
I know, I'm sorry, and I'm just gonna, as Sophie pointed out when I told her what I was doing, spoiler alert, this is unsolved.
I was like, you know my brain needs the answers. I must have the justice.
I wish there was, but, you know, crazier things have happened in the true crime world. I really hope this case can get solved.
Hey, well, let's bet it all on that DNA, like, webbing and mapping that they're doing of everybody.
Yeah. And it's not very clear if there's DNA in this case, but because we'll get into it. But in this case, I really hope that the police held something back where that'll actually solve it. You know what I mean? Because we probably don't know the whole story because it is an open case, but who never knows. So this is the story of Maura Murray, who disappeared in 2004. So little under 20 years ago. Yeah. So for my research, I listened to episode 277 of Going West, a true crime podcast. I read an article from allthat'sinteresting.com, MauraMurrayMissing.org, and WMUR.com, which I think is like a local news station. So Maura Murray was born May 4th, 1982 in Massachusetts. She was the youngest daughter of Fred and Lori Murray. They were both in the medical field. And Maura grew up in a town called Hanson, which is on the south shore of Massachusetts. She had several older siblings, Fred Jr., Kathleen and Julie, and then eventually she was going to have a younger brother, Curtis. Her parents did divorce when she was 6, but it sounds like the family had a really good relationship, even though that happened. Maura was a classic overachiever, as described by her friends and family. She was on National Honor Society. She had really good grades, did well in school. And then she was also like an all-star athlete. She was really good at like cross-country track, kind of like running.
Damn, that's hard.
Yeah, she did that shit.
I've always admired people who are runners because whenever I would play sports, I'd be like, you know what the worst part about this is?
The running.
The running.
Yeah. And some people
like,
are just running. Yep.
All running.
All the time.
I'm like, damn, I respect that.
This is cute. Quote, she was active in her local community where she became known for her kind heart, signature dimples, and beautiful smile.
Why is it always these type of people that go missing or get murdered?
It's always the kindest people. So there were several really cool things about her, but one really cool thing, she qualified for the U.S. National Scholastic Outdoor Championships in the 2-mile event /run. I don't know. She was a sophomore in high school and she finished 33rd in the country.
That's amazing.
Yeah, as a sophomore in high school. So you're 15 or 16 years old.
Those little legs were pumping.
Oh, yeah. So basically, when she came to the end of her high school career, she had her pick of colleges that would want her for her grades and for her athletic ability.
I bet.
She ended up accepting a congressional nomination from Senator Edward Kennedy. Surprise.
Damn.
Yeah, threw that in there. But you didn't think the Kennedys were going to show up.
I did not.
So she accepts this nomination, which I assume is like a scholarship, and goes to West Point, where her sister Julie was already enrolled. So things are going okay at West Point, as okay as like boot camp can be.
Yeah.
But she was able to be on the cross country and track teams there. The first year, was a success as far as anyone knew. But then in her second year, she decided that the military was not for her and decided to go to the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, where she decided to get a degree in nursing.
Nice.
So
we love nurses.
Yeah, we love nurses. You have to be a special kind of person to be a nurse. So the fact that she was like going in to be a nurse, obviously she was very kind-hearted and wanted to help people.
Well, I mean, military and then nursing says very civically minded.
Definitely. So there were a couple of bumps along the way. 3 months before her disappearance, so at the end of 2003, she was arrested for using a stolen credit card. But it sounds like it was kind of a misunderstanding and it wasn't a big charge. So it sounds like it was going to be dismissed as long as she maintained good behavior for 3 months.
Okay.
So we're coming up to February 5th, 2004, and Maura had a conversation with her sister Katelyn, which nobody really knows the details of for some reason. It sounds like her sister Katelyn had some issues, this is allegedly, with addiction, issues with her fiance, and so some believe that that phone call was something to do with one of those things, or both. Maura was at one of her jobs, which was being a campus security officer. So, like, I don't know if security officer is the right word, but, like, she would check people in and out of the dorm buildings. She was, like, kind of like receptionist security guard kind of thing, it sounds like.
Okay.
But she was so, like, distraught by this call with her sister. Her supervisor, like, came over to see what was going on, and all she could say was, quote, my sister. Like, that's all she could say. And the supervisor like walked her home to her dorm and was like, is everything okay? And she just didn't really give any explanation and just went inside.
That's very upsetting.
Yeah, so we don't quite, this is just kind of things that are being closely examined because they happened in the days leading up to her disappearance. It could have nothing to do with her disappearance. It probably has nothing to do with it, but her behavior was just a little bit different than most of her friends and family thought was her normal behavior, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So her dad, Fred, came to Amherst on February 7th, 2004, and apparently he was there to go car shopping with Maura. They also went to dinner before he went back to his motel. It doesn't sound like they bought a car, though, but he did have, like, a good amount of cash because it sounds like they were, like, planning on getting a car.
Yeah.
And then he lent Maura his car so she could drive back to her dorm for a party. So it's not really clear why she has her dad's car. Maybe her car was, like, truly a piece of shit, and that's why they were car shopping. That's just my guess, but it's not really clear from my research.
Yeah.
But on her way home after the party, she accidentally crashed her father's car into a guardrail.
Oh, shit.
And she wasn't hurt, but the car was damaged. And it turned out that Fred's insurance was going to cover the cost of it as long as they, like, filled out the proper forms. So it wasn't, like, too big of a deal, but she was still pretty shaken up, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
But apparently she seemed, fine when Dad took her home back to her dorm later that day. But then we come to February 9th, 2004, and this is when everything shit hits the fan. So she emails her college professors to say that she's taking a week off because of a death in the family. And her family says, no, there was no death in the family.
Okay.
She emails her long-distance boyfriend, Bill Rausch, who is still a student at West Point, or maybe he's a little bit older than her, so I think he's in the Army at this point. So they're long distance, but they met in West Point. She emails this, her boyfriend, quote, I love you more, stud. I got your messages, but honestly, I didn't feel like talking to much of anyone. I promise to call today, though. Love you, Maura. Yeah, stud.
Aw, stud.
Cute. We also have phone records that tell us who she called that day. She called the owner of a condo in Bartlett, New Hampshire, where she had stayed before with family. The person who took that call didn't remember it, so there weren't a lot of details given about why she called. But she definitely didn't reserve a room in Bartlett. She called a booking hotline for hotels in a place called Stowe, Vermont. But again, she didn't reserve any hotel room. She also, at this point, remember it's 2004, so we don't have GPS on our phones. So she, probably on MapQuest, looked up directions to Burlington, Vermont.
Oh, and she probably had to print out the instructions.
They do find them later, actually. Yep.
Oh my God.
Yep.
I was kidding. Okay. Did your parents have like a bunch of old MapQuest directions maybe in the like side pocket of the car?
No, but they did have like a very detailed book of a map of Oregon and like Portland that came out every once in a while.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot of MapQuest, but I'm sure it happened. It had to have. And then I had one of those like Garmin giant GPS things that you mounted in your car.
Oh my God, yes. My dad had one of those, and we used to call her name was Gloria Priscilla Schwartz.
Oh my God.
GPS. But yeah, I remember the MapQuest, and I remember reading MapQuest to almost all of my family members.
Oh yeah. You know, I will say, I do actually use MapQuest every once in a while because for professional reasons.
Okay.
Because patients constantly will call and be like, I don't know how to get there. Can you tell me how? And I'm like, do you have a computer? And they're like, no. They're older, typically, people that do this. And I'm like, okay, are you coming from your home address? And they're like, yep. And I will punch it into MapQuest and I will.
Oh my God.
I have done this before where I will give them step-by-step directions to the hospital.
I know that you are compensated quite fairly, but I'm not sure that's part of your job.
No, it definitely isn't. But when
you're a very kind person.
When an 80-year-old person is like, I need help getting, it's like, what are you going to do? Say like, fuck you, get a computer? You can't.
No, you can't.
You can't.
You have to tell them you're going to take a right on Hallman, then you're going to do a left on Main.
Yep. All right, so.
Okay, Grandpa, I love you.
Yeah. All right, so back to the story. So she's kind of looking for different, like, rentals or hotels in a few different locations, but nobody really knows why she was leaving. Remember, she tells her professors that she's going to be off for a week because of a death in the family. And she didn't tell anyone where she was going or why. But we know that she did pack a bag with like toiletries, workout clothes, her books, like she was planning to do her homework while she was away, and several days worth of clothes. So it's 3:15 on the day, February 9th, 2004, the day she's going to disappear. She stops at an ATM that's off campus and withdraws $280, which is apparently most of what was in her account at the time.
Oh.
She stops at a liquor store and buys about $40 worth of alcohol, including Bailey's, Kahlua, boxed wine, and vodka. So it's a boxed wine and White Russian kind of night, it sounds like.
Oh, I'm not sure if this bodes well.
No, it definitely doesn't. Apparently, she also stopped by the Registry of Motor Vehicles and picked up the forms that were necessary for the car accident that she had been in her dad's car, like the day before or 2 days before.
That's an interesting thing to do after doing all of those other things.
Yeah, I don't know in what order she did that. It's
still weird on that list of errands.
Yeah. It's a strange, I will say, all of this doesn't make a lot of sense. So it could be speaking to somebody who is not like mentally aware of what they're doing. That's, just a theory. We truly don't know.
Yeah, we don't know what was going on in her head.
No. So at 4:37 p.m., she places a call to her voicemail, because remember, to check your voicemail, you had to call a number.
Oh my God, yes, and enter a password.
Mm-hmm. But this is the last time that she is ever going to use her phone.
Oh.
We genuinely don't know what she did in between checking her voicemail and running those errands in Amherst, which is the town where she's going to college, until about between 7 and 7:25, because she's going to get into another car crash in a town called Haverhill, which I'm going to tell you about. So at 7:27, a woman named Faith Westman, who is a resident of Haverhill, which is in New Hampshire, she calls police and states that she's near her house and there's been an accident where a car is stuck in a ditch. And remember, it's February, it's New Hampshire. There's snow. There's snow on the ground. So that's at 7:27. And then at 7:42, they get another 911 call from a guy named Butch Atwood. So he is a local bus driver who lives by the site of this crash. And his story is that he drove past, saw that the car was it sounds like from the description, she had spun out. And so her car was blocking oncoming traffic. I don't think it was a particularly busy road, but it was pretty obvious that there had been an accident. It sounds like people wouldn't just leave their car sideways in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
So she was there when he drove past her. He offered to help her and said do you need me to call the police? And she said, no, I've already called AAA. So Butch Atwood is a local. Like I said, he lives about 100 yards away from the site of the car accident. And he knows that there's no cell phone reception in this area. And this is 2004. And apparently, according to the Going West podcast, somebody checked in 2015 and that area still doesn't have cell service. So you are darn tootin' that there was nobody to call in 2004.
Yeah, seriously.
So this was pretty clearly a lie. So he, like I said, he lives about 100 yards from the crash. And so he goes home and he calls 911, assumedly on his landline.
Yeah.
He told the police that she looked shaken up and that the airbags had been deployed, but that he couldn't see any blood. 7:46 is when the first officer arrives on the scene. Remember, the first 911 call was at 7:27. And she is gone. She is nowhere to be found.
Oh, girl.
So they find the car, obviously, and there is a box of red wine behind... Sorry. Let me say that again.
Behind the wheel?
Behind the driver's seat. It's not funny. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at the circumstances. I was having memories of boxed wine from college, and it just flashed into my mind how ridiculous boxed wine is.
It is. It's very ridiculous.
There were assumedly red wine stains on the ceiling and the door, probably because she maybe had an open container when the car crash is the only thing I can think of why it would be on the door and on the ceiling.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Obviously, like we've said, we weren't there, but I'm not really sure how else that could have happened. So officers go back to that bus driver and actually ask him to help them do some searching, which I think is a weird thing. Just because he's the last person to see her. So, he probably didn't have anything to do with it, but, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's 2004. This isn't, the 40s or something where it's hey, do you have a pulse? You can help. You're a good guy, right? It's no, it's 2004. Didn't we have any kind of awareness?
I mean, he lived so close in the area. He must have known the area really well.
Yeah.
But so would the police,
you
assumably.
Would think, yeah. So they bring in, it says a state trooper. So I think at this point, they're not quite taking this as seriously as they're going to. They're searching the area that is west of the road where the crash happened. Firefighters and EMS also come to the scene. They send EMS away pretty quickly because there's no sick or injured person to attend to. And it sounds like the firefighters searched for a little while, but then we're this is not our job. We fight fires, and left.
I mean, that is true. They do fight fires.
Yeah, it's not their job to search for missing people.
But isn't it kind of?
But I mean, I don't know. What else do you have going on unless there's another emergency? I don't know.
I mean, I guess the only thing that would take top priority over that would be a fire.
Yeah, I mean, fair. But one problem that people have pointed out, there is no like evidence that there was any search conducted east of the crash site. So they only looked in one direction.
That's weird.
And this is something that Maura's father, Fred, criticizes about how the police handled the initial investigation. And he is like totally convinced that if she were going to be like out walking in the woods in February at night, that she would go east, because apparently they spent a lot of time in an area east of where it's kind of weird, honestly. I don't know why he's so convinced that she would go east, but it is definitely they should have searched every direction, I would think.
They should have searched every direction, but I can understand how if they didn't search in one direction, you might be able to convince yourself that that's definitely the direction that they went, because they didn't find her.
Well, and another thing they didn't find, there were no footprints in the snow anywhere that could indicate where she went.
Really?
For real.
That creeps me out.
Yeah, are you chilled?
I'm fully shivered.
So, this is all we know. This is literally the facts of the case. So,
wow.
There are obviously some theories. Mm-hmm. Some believe that Maura was distancing herself from her friends and family and was going to commit suicide.
Oh.
Her family, and especially her father, have totally denied this idea, saying that she was, quote, in good spirits, had no worries or reason to run away from her life. To be fair, though, she did have the issue with the arrest with the credit card fraud. But again, it didn't sound like it was going to be that big of a deal. Like, she just had to be on good behavior for a few months and it was going to be like taken off her record. That's just at least according to one theory.
Yeah, but I can understand how if that happened to someone, that could really affect them mentally. If they were hard on themselves.
And it sounds like she was such a perfectionist. Like maybe she just kind of lost sight of things because she made a small mistake. And, there was obviously that strange phone call with her sister, so possibly something was going on with her family. And then she had just gotten into another car accident literally like a day and a half before, so obviously she would have been pretty rattled.
Yeah.
Is all of that combined? Like, does it equal her wanting to leave and never be found? I don't know. It's hard to say, because while she had done something kind of weird, she had like packed up a lot of her dorm room in boxes, but she also had a lot of things with her in her car. She had like her belongings, like she was going to be going somewhere for a few days. Like I said, she had schoolwork, and she had her phone and she had her backpack and stuff, obviously. So some of her actions point to maybe it was her, wanting to take her own life, or she just wanted to like get away for a few days and was just like playing hooky from school.
Yeah, because why would she bring schoolwork?
Right? This is not meant to be funny at all. If you're about to hurt yourself, why do you care about bringing your school books with you?
Yeah. It's very perplexing.
But why did she pack up her dorm room? That's a weird thing, too. Like, why did she pack stuff up and leave boxes behind? So police never find her, obviously, but they never find her cell phone or her backpack. And actually, her phone was never used again, so we have no idea what happened to it. Her bank account, nothing was ever taken out ever again. And there have only been like alleged sightings and just theories since then. One other theory, and it's, this one has some elements that make sense. Maura crashes the car. She's absolutely panicking. Potentially she has an open container of alcohol. She knows that she's got to be on her good behavior for 3 months. So she's like, okay, I have to like run away. Yeah. First off, where are the footprints? It can't have snowed that much in like 20 minutes that her footprints would be gone. I mean, maybe it could, but they didn't say there was like a blizzard or anything going on. It was just like...
Yeah, I would say that people would remark on the fact that it would have snowed that much in such a quick time.
And then I don't know how cold it is in February at night in New Hampshire, but I have to believe it's under 40 degrees, maybe even below freezing. So why would she, being as smart as she is and as savvy as she is, it sounds like she's been camping before, like, why would she just march off into the woods and just leave everything behind, you know? And again, if that's what happened, there have been numerous searches of the area since then. How have we never found, like, anything?
Yeah, because part of me is like, well, she could have maybe not been operating on her, like, full capacity. Like, she could have been intoxicated because of the wine. And it might have made sense to her at the time to walk away from the scene. But yeah, it's very perplexing that she was not found.
Yeah, no footprints, no evidence. It's just bizarre. So a lot of people think that she must have been picked up by a car. If there are no footprints in the snow, it stands to reason that she was on the road the whole time, right?
That makes sense.
So her father thinks that she was taken by someone who's local, who, like, knew the roads and knew where to take her, I guess, so she wouldn't be found. But a lot of other people think that she could have just been in the wrong place at the wrong time and somehow just, like, stumbled upon somebody who wanted to do her harm. Again, it's a possibility, but it's like, what are the fucking odds that you, like, in the middle of the woods, basically, on a trip that you didn't tell anybody about, that you run into somebody who would do something like kidnap you? It's just, I mean, crazier shit has happened, but it's, yeah, I just can't figure this one out.
I feel like it's a known adage in the true crime community that hitchhiking is extremely dangerous.
Right. Especially in 2004. We knew better by then. Stranger danger.
Yeah. Stranger danger, but not at the level that we are now. And, like, you know, we're joking about MapQuest and, like, how cell phones would not have had the internet by that point. But, like, yeah, if you were out of service, you were as fucked as you would be if you didn't even have a cell phone.
Pretty
like,
much.
You're fucked.
You're
like,
completely fucked. So, yeah, I mean, it does make sense. You would maybe be more, like, willing to trust somebody in that situation. The dog is killing me right now. The dog has something to say.
Yeah, do you have a theory?
Who did
Can
it?
we hear it?
Who did it?
Kuno. Who did it?
Who did it, Kuno?
He has answers and now he won't say them.
Yeah. Don't gatekeep the answer, Kuno.
God. He's just so sweet. He's a sweet boy. He's just saying, I'll help.
Yeah. So
I'm
cute.
a German Shepherd. I'll help.
Oh my God. Really quick sidebar, and I know I'm going way over. A grasshopper came into my open window yesterday and was flying around my living room. And I tried to get Minnie to help me with it. And I was just like, Minnie, look. And I, like, tried to point her at it. Like, it was by a chair. I tried to put her on the chair. She just was not getting it. And she was so upset. She was, like, meowing at me because she knew that I wanted something, but we just weren't getting it. It was...
That's so funny. You're like, can I?
Yeah. Can you help? Like, motherfucker, the door was open because you wanted to be on the balcony. But no, I ended up catching it in a glass and throwing it outside.
Nice.
Anyway, God. Okay.
Good job, cat mother.
Yeah, thanks, Minnie. So, obviously, this case has drawn a lot of attention among the amateur sleuth community because of the time that it happened and the internet coming of age and all that. So people have, like, we've talked about several theories. Things have come up over the years. It turns out that her boyfriend at the time, Bill Rausch, has a history of sexual misconduct against other women, which came to light after Maura's disappearance. So some people wonder if he had something to do with her disappearance, but he was 100% in Oklahoma at the time of her disappearance. So it's very, he was in the army.
That would be that'd be pretty hard for him to
It'd be pretty hard
pull that off.
Yeah, it's in Oklahoma. She's in New Hampshire. They're, like, hundreds of miles apart. And he's in the army. Again, they would notice. Some people think that the bus driver that found her had something to do with it, but I have a little bit of trouble, like, believing that because it makes complete sense that he didn't. People are like, why didn't he stay with her? And it's like, but he couldn't call for help.
He had to go to the landline.
That's what I think. He had to go to the landline to call the police. So he had a bad feeling about it and went home to call. I don't know. I don't know.
Did he, did it say anywhere that he offered for her to come with him?
It didn't.
I mean, he
tried to help. He said he
though.
tried to help her and she declined. So I guess,
Okay.
what are you going to do? Just stand there when someone's like, no, I don't want your help? And there are some more, salacious rumors that her father may have had something to do with it or have been abusive towards her. But I have a really hard time believing that. It sounds like they had a good relationship. And he has, moved mountains trying to find her. It sounds like he was on the ground searching for her even after police kind of gave up. He would just go and try and look for her in the wilderness. So anything's possible, but I have trouble believing that one.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it.
No. So there was hope in September 2021 that they might have found her bones because there were some fragments found at the base of Loon Mountain, which I suppose is close to the car wreck site. I just like that name, Loon Mountain. But unfortunately, the remains were carbon dated to be way, way older than Maura's body would have been. As of this year, 2023, her family has put up lots of billboards in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, which they're hoping will generate some new leads. And then Julie Murray, so Maura's sister, also has a TikTok account where she tells people about her sister and about her sister's disappearance and tries to gain awareness for her sister. So I watched a few of her videos just to get more of a sense of her. And I think she's just really doing a good thing trying to keep her sister's case relevant because it's been almost 20 years. And I'm definitely going to link to her TikTok account in the show notes because it's worth a watch. So yeah, that's all I got.
Well, you once again have brought me something sad and puzzling and fascinating and upsetting and creepy.
Yeah, once again, sorry everybody. I do really hope that any amount of awareness that we can get on this podcast is 1, 2, 3 more people that hear her story. And someday, I don't know how, but someday I hope this case will be solved.
I hope so too.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Like I said at the beginning, I hope that the police have some kind of evidence that they're holding on to that we don't know about that'll help solve this case or something, because I don't know how they would solve it with what they have right now.
Yeah, that's the most upsetting part, is that it seems like the trail runs cold so quickly.
Yeah. Well, take a load off, everybody. Take deep breaths. And we'll see you after this Podmoth ad because we love you. Goodbye.
Welcome to the Getting Down and Wordy podcast ad.
What do we do on this podcast?
Well, it's the first Edda musical podcast.
Can you try that again in real words so that people can understand?
Fine. We talk about the intersection of popular music and language.
Oh, can we also talk about Eurovision?
Okay.
Find us on Apple and Spotify.
We are a Podmoth Network podcast.
Katelyn,
Yes, Sophie.
it is the spooky season, not quite the spooky month, but the spooky season. And I have brought for you something that we both are endlessly interested in.
Oh, God. That sounds good.
Katelyn, do you like a shipwreck?
I wouldn't like to be a part of one, but I would like to see one.
But you like to hear about one.
I do.
I mean, we never wish for shipwrecks to happen.
No,
But
I'll go see a shipwreck.
oh, Katelyn, if I could transport you back to this shipwreck, what a time you would have.
I bet.
So we are going to be discussing the disaster of the SS Morro Castle.
Okay, I haven't heard of this.
I was wondering.
Nope, no, not
Sources? I first heard about this from a TikTok by Becky's Weird Travel.
nice.
And then I looked into it, and there was so much more.
Thank you, Becky.
Other sources were the Ashbury Park Press, the New Jersey Maritime Museum, Cult of the Weird, and Wikipedia. The Great Depression.
God damn it.
I know, never a good way to start.
No. I I don't know. If you're shipbuilding in the Great Depression, you probably did okay.
Well, I would ask you, Katelyn, what would take your mind off the Great Depression more than a lovely cruise?
Yeah, a vacation, a vacay.
A vacay, why not? Well, you would have the same idea as about 72,000 people
Oh, shit.
who cruised in 1934.
Damn. So that's like 20 years after the Titanic. I guess everybody was just over it. Maybe not.
I raised my eyebrows at Katelyn. I did a stern face that said, I'm not sure about that. Yeah. Despite the deep financial depression that the country was in, Americans found a way to cruise, and it was a great way to take your mind off of the staggering troubles at home.
Okay.
And the Morro Castle was built between 1929 and 1930 at the Newport News Shipbuilding and Dry Dock Company in Virginia.
Okay.
It also had a sister ship named the Orette, and this was part of a congressional bill that loaned $250 million to shipbuilders to boost the shipbuilding economy during the Great Depression.
Okay.
So they said, you want to make ships? Go for it.
Please, we need more ships.
Please make ships. Ships do great things like facilitate trade and take people places, which was big at the time.
Get me out of here.
Yes, exactly. And so a company called the Ward Line, which was a mail and cargo shipping company, decided that they were going to do a route that went back and forth from Cuba.
Okay.
And they were going to use this ship. And the Morro Castle ended up costing $5 million
To make it.
to make it.
Oh, God.
To build it. And it was named after a fortress and lighthouse in Havana. And this ship was 508 feet long.
Pretty big.
She a big boy. The Morro Castle did her first voyage on August 23rd of 1930. And she was like a fantastic success right off the bat. She ended up making the first trip to Cuba in 59 hours and circled back around for a return trip of 58 hours. So
Chugging along.
Shaved an hour after, yeah. And so after this, for the next 4 years, the Morro Castle is an absolute workhorse, just churning out these ships back and forth to Cuba off and on for 4 years very consistently. And it would from time to time need repairs, and it would get these repairs, but it was never like taken out of service. Like they never gave the ship like time to chill. And what they would usually do is they would fix something or they would paint over it.
Oh, good. Good.
You know,
Just keep painting and it'll go away eventually.
exactly like windows in a college house, just paint over it.
Please. I don't want to see
Please.
inside.
Well, I don't want to be able to open it up and get any air in this stale, musty, terrible home.
You speak from experience, I believe.
What? Me? That's crazy talk. In addition to this landlord special type paint job that the ship was constantly getting, the crew was getting changed over pretty constantly as well. It was not always the same people. So like the people didn't have a lot of cohesion working together. As well as this, they tended to ignore and or completely disregard safety drills and procedures.
Did we learn nothing from the Titanic? I say again. Like, what the fuck, you guys?
Yeah, bada bing, bada boom. Titanic, I never knew her.
Apparently. I thought that changed, like, safety regulations on boats. I guess not.
It did, and we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
So, the Great Depression, the fun thing about it is it got bad before it got better, right? Mm-hmm. But despite that, people were like horny for cruise. They were like, I must get on cruise. And when they do get on cruise, they can do something they cannot do at home, which is drink. Because prohibition during this time, prohibition is still partly in effect.
And they're on international waters. Holy shit.
Yeah, so these become roving, drunken, debaucherous, tiny Americas.
Yeah. It's
floating around.
It's a booze cruise.
Yeah, it's a booze cruise. It's a long ass booze cruise.
It's like a 3-day, what did you say, 59 hours? So what is that, like 3
It's
days?
like 3-ish days, yeah. Of just drinking and being on the sea. And I'll tell you from experience, drinking and being on a boat, it does not agree with my tummy, so I can't even imagine. And they're drinking bathtub gin on this boat.
Oh, yeah. This is not delicious.
Yeah.
So the Morro Castle, because of that reason, was a pretty fun ship. And it was beautiful, too. It was, very well decorated on the inside. Lots of ornate wood.
Mm-hmm.
And so people were a pretty big fan of this ship. But unfortunately, it would make its final voyage on September 5th, 1934.
Oh, shit.
So on the afternoon of the 6th, they're cruising parallel with the southeast coast of the United States. And they're like, there's a lot of clouds and wind happening.
Shit.
And you know what clouds and wind make?
Storm.
Yeah. And by the morning of the 7th, it was looking like storm was a brewing.
Mm-hmm. And not the character from fucking X-Men.
No, it was not the beautiful Halle Berry coming down from the clouds to fuck them up.
No.
It was just a developing nor'easter, as they call it, which is like I think it's like something like an exotropical storm. It's a cyclone.
Hideous.
It's a storm.
No, thank you.
It's bad. It's bad for both, is what I'll say, is what I learned. And earlier on the evening of the 7th, Captain Robert Renson Wilmont had his dinner taken to his captain's quarters. And after he had dinner, he was like, my tummy really hurts. And after that, he died.
Oh my God. He just dropped dead.
He probably had a heart attack, but we're not entirely sure.
Holy shit.
Some people were like, was he murdered?
Who knows? Damn.
Who knows? Obviously, they canceled the fancy ball because of the captain's death.
I'm so glad they did, but I wouldn't have been surprised if they didn't.
Right?
Yeah. Hey, business as usual. I was like, are they even going to tell passengers? I don't know.
Well, they had to because they canceled their fun ball.
Yeah, so they're like, here's the reason. The captain has kicked the bucket.
Yeah, and this had an effect on the passengers and crew,
Sure,
obviously.
Of course.
And command was passed over to Chief Officer William Worms, and he took over control of the ship. But like I said, the passengers and the crew were like, it sent an uneasy air through the ship, obviously, and didn't bode well for the rest of the journey.
Oh, I bet not.
Because at around 2:50 a.m. on September the 8th, the ship is sailing off of Long Beach Island. This is on the East Coast, traveling up the East Coast. There's a fire in a storage locker in the first class writing room on the B deck.
Okay.
And almost at around the same time, another fire is also discovered elsewhere on the ship.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And so now fire from 2 different locations is beginning to engulf this ship. And passengers are starting to figure it out, but the crew is not going around and telling people.
Oh, God. Okay.
And a lot of the, crew members are really scared.
Sure. They probably didn't prepare for this one.
No, remember when they didn't do the safety drills?
Oh, yeah. That'll come to kick you in the ass one day.
It certainly did, because the fire grew extremely rapidly, and within 30 minutes, the Morro Castle was covered in flames.
Shit.
And there was no order given to stop or turn around this boat. The boat just kept going. So the fire is burning through the stern of the ship really quickly. So there were a couple of fire hydrants on board, but the water pressure was so low it wasn't doing a whole lot.
Jesus Christ.
And so Captain Worms was like, I need to beach this ship. I need to do something. But they were like, we also need to launch the lifeboats. There were a lot of plans going around at the same time, and nothing was getting done.
Oh, God.
So within 20 minutes of them finding the fire, it had burned through the ship's electrical cables and took the power out on the ship. So now they're in total darkness.
Shit.
So there's a fire and no power. They were able to send out one SOS signal before the radio stopped working.
Fuck. Hope it was a good one.
Right? And then after the SOS signal was sent, they lost the ability to steer the ship.
Oh, good. Okay. Because there was no power?
Well, because the hydraulic lines were also burned by the fire.
Wow.
So they literally had zero control of the ship.
Holy shit. And
The
no way
ship
to
is, like-
contact anybody. Holy shit.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just barreling up the coast just a couple miles off of, like, the beach.
Oh, God.
Like, the ship is close.
Fuck.
While all this is happening, passengers or crew are running around below decks, getting trapped under there by the intense amount of fire that is happening. The floors are getting too hot to touch, and all that beautiful wooden interior is only adding to the intense flames.
Yeah. Fuck.
As well as cleaning fluid exploding. The fire also burned up this thing called a lye gun or a Lyle gun, which is like basically kind of like a harpoon gun that you would use to fire a rope to another ship to evacuate.
Fuck. Every contingency plan is literally going up in smoke.
This is so bad.
Really bad.
Not to mention the fact that everything is covered in flammable paint.
Oh, God.
And so up on deck, passengers and crew are very justifiably having a nightmare, experiencing the worst nightmare possible because they're trapped on this burning ship. And some crew members are trying to fight the fire. Others are like throwing deck furniture into the sea for people to try to use as flotation devices. Unfortunately, a lot of the crew was more interested in saving themselves than the passengers, and they ended up launching a lot of the lifeboats without really filling them and without directing passengers to go to them at all and not alerting passengers to them, because a lot of the passengers ran to the front of the boat and a lot of the crew ran to the back of the boat.
And there's no intercom to tell people what to do, I guess.
No, and the shame is that, like, these lifeboats, there were enough lifeboats.
Oh, my God. I hate when this
and
shit
do you know
happens.
why there would be enough lifeboats,
Because
Caitlin?
of the Titanic.
Exactly.
Okay, so they had the lifeboats, they just didn't do the training. Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
And a lot of people were very much faced with jump or burn.
Fuck. An impossible choice.
Exactly, because this is a big, tall ship. And not only are we experiencing a horrible fire, may I remind you of the whipping storm.
Oh, God.
The high winds, the choppy waves.
Shit.
So they're standing on the burning deck of a ship in the middle of a cyclone.
God damn it.
Woo, fun times
Woohoo.
on the Morro Castle. Yeah.
Aren't you glad you tuned in, listener?
So only 6 of the ship's 12 lifeboats were launched.
Oh, not good.
And although the capacity of these lifeboats was 408, they only ended up carrying 85 people.
Jesus Christ. That's
And most
terrible.
of them were the crew.
Ew. And they're like sailing by the passengers at the front, like, sorry.
Yeah, peace out, Girl Scout.
Fuck.
And, you know, many of these passengers perished because they didn't know how to use the lifeboats. They didn't know how to use the life vests, which were also available, but they were not trained to use. People also lost their lives due to injuries involved with trying to jump from the ship. People were knocked unconscious by the fall and then subsequently drowned.
Fuck.
And others were injured so grievously by the fall that they perished from their injuries in the water and from exposure from the weather and being in freezing cold water at night.
Jesus Christ.
So very similar to the Titanic.
Yeah.
So this SOS that was sent out, luckily it did reach some people.
Thank God for something.
Yes. And although many of the rescue ships were not very speedy in their response, there were 3 ships that were nearby that ended up responding to this wreck. As well as this, there were telephone calls placed between radio operators and radio stations to spread the word. And soon many local families started showing up to the beaches where the ship was like only a few miles off of shore. So local people started getting their boats. They started swimming out there to help people.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's truly like the community in Asbury, which is where the ship kind of ended up landing, really came together to try to help these people.
That's nice.
Yeah, but by the mid-morning, this ship was completely abandoned. The ship eventually ends up running aground on its own, and it ends up being like right in front of the Asbury Park Convention Hall pier. So it literally pulls up to like a pier where like a boardwalk type Coney Island kind of.
Holy shit. This like rusted out, burnt hull of a ship. Like, who's driving this thing?
Yeah. And it actually crashed very close to the spot where the New Era, another ship, had crashed in 1854.
Oh, that's weird. That's super weird.
Yeah, and 284 lives were lost in that wreck.
Oh.
And for the Morro Castle, when the casualties were told, it was 135 passengers out of 549.
That had lost their lives.
Yes.
Oh, that's really sad. And to die so horrifically, too.
Yes. Horribly. Truly horribly. In a nightmare situation. Mm-hmm. And to kind of make matters worse for the dead, who many remained on the ship, and the ship became a hub for stacking the deceased. And the ship continued to burn like well into the next day. And this made body retrieval very difficult. This is also the summertime. So after this storm blows over, heat comes in. And so this ship is trapped on like kind of like a sandbar situation, covered in dead bodies right in front of a boardwalk.
Yeah, that's fucked up. That's real fucked up.
So naturally, thousands and thousands of people come to see it.
Yeah. I could have seen that one coming if I had thought about it hard enough.
Of course you did. We're still in the era where you could walk through a crime scene and touch everything.
No, not on the burnt boat, you guys. Come on.
People would wade out to the boat to touch it.
What's the point of that? Oh, good for you. You touched it. Are you going to tell your grandchildren you touched a boat that was in a shipwreck? Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if you would open your email, you will see some pictures and postcards that were sold at the site of this wreck. And I'll tell you,
God.
this ship with those bodies stayed there for 4 months.
Oh, no. Oh, it's big. That is so creepy. That is so creepy because it kind of looks like a small Titanic, too.
Yeah, it looks a lot like the Titanic. If you'll look at these pictures, people are extremely close.
That's nuts.
Like, it's pulled up to the beach.
Holy shit. Yeah, there are a lot of people just, like, gawking at it. And you can see in some of the pictures, you can see where it's kind of, like, burnt out. But we'll post these on the Instagram and Facebook. But, like, the ship, like, the body of the ship is, like, intact. But you can definitely see that there's damage.
Yeah.
4 months. Jesus Christ.
4 months that thing sat there. And then it was hauled away and broken down for scrap.
Yeah.
The bodies were, of course, removed before then. and taken to several homes and buildings in the area, most of which are still there today.
Creepy.
Oh, they are all haunted.
I bet.
No, yeah, that was in... They are haunted.
They are fully haunted.
Fully haunted. But this event still lives in the local memory. There are people whose grandparents helped out with this. And there's actually a quote from Greg Brogan, whose family rescued 64 people from the Morro Castle.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And he said, quote, "They picked up all these people who were floating, but some of them were clinging to dead loved ones. They had to tell them, let go, because they only had room on the boat for living people."
Oh, that's so sad. Jesus.
So this man's family helped with this rescue, and they also helped to house some of the bodies when they were removed from the ship. And this man's family is just a reflection of so many families in the area who helped to like shoulder this disaster and this tragedy, because that's what it truly was. It was straight up negligence.
Yeah.
And there were investigations done into the negligence. But, you know, there's no way to regain the lives of those people.
No, it's too little too late for them.
And this story is actually very timely because around last year, around this time, and now just a few days ago, around I think it was the 8th or the 9th of September, it was confirmed that they found the anchor of the Castle Morro.
Oh, damn.
They pulled it out of the New Jersey Ocean.
Oh, and they were like, look what we found.
Yeah, and it was confirmed very recently that that's what it was.
Oh, that's really cool.
So one of the biggest questions about the Morro Castle is, how did these fires start?
Yeah, please.
And there's a lot of suspicion around it, lots of conspiracy theories. But the one, and there's no official cause, but the one that people mostly point to is a man named George W. Roger, who was a radio man on the Morro Castle. And at first people were like, he is a hero because he didn't abandon his post and he was able to like send a message.
Okay.
So everyone was like, yeah, he's amazing. But then people were like, a lot of stuff about his story doesn't really add up. And when a police officer, one of his superiors, actually, he was a cop with the Bayonne Police Department, like asked him about it, he tried to kill him.
What?
Yeah.
The guy from the ship tried
Yeah.
to kill a police officer for asking questions.
About his involvement with the Morro Castle. Yeah.
See, that's very suspicious.
Yes. And he proved himself to be a violent man because in 1954, Rogers was convicted of murdering his neighbors for money.
What the fuck? So what, they think that he set a fire so that he could send the safety message and like maybe be a hero?
It's possible. There are other suspicions that he was prompted to do this by someone else in order to retrieve insurance money for the Morro Castle. But one thing that people all seem to agree on is that these fires were arson.
Oh shit. Well, I mean, I guess I could have predicted that, because it's like, how did the two fires start at different parts of the ship? Like that's pretty suspicious as well.
It is incredibly suspicious, and people also point to the death of the captain the night before the fires.
Yeah.
Which I agree is suspicious, but I do not believe is connected.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean,
this guy
probably not.
But this guy did prove to be a murderer. So
he doesn't have great morals, so who knows? God. Shit.
But I found this story so gripping because of the harrowing circumstances that some people were able to survive, and also the heroism of the local people who were just like, yeah, I'll save your ass from a shipwreck.
Yeah.
Like,
I've got a boat. Let me get over there.
I've got a boat and some time.
Yeah.
let me help these people. And a lot of people did live with the guilt of not being able to save everyone.
Oh.
Because there were people who in the community believed that when they were searching for people, the water was so dark that they couldn't see some people.
Oh. It's not their fault.
Right.
Oh.
But, you know, I want to end this story with remembering these victims. You can actually find an entire list of all of the victims' names and little descriptions about them online. And I also wanted to conclude on this quote from Greg Brogan, who is a relative of one of the rescuers. He says, quote, "It's one of the things our family is known for other than fishing. It was a tragedy that day, but we were able to do something positive to help. It happened 84 years ago, and we're still talking about it. People still ask us about it."
Oh. Well, like ordinary people can do quite a bit if circumstances are right. So that's encouraging that people were trying to help in that way.
Yeah.
People aren't all bad.
Exactly. And like, you know, it's hard to think about crew members who launch lifeboats without passengers and, you know, higher ups on the crew who didn't do safety drills. But I think you can then counter that with the thought of people risking their own lives to save people they've never met before.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, I think the crew has to be in charge of the emergency stuff. Like the passengers, unless they do a whole like safety demonstration, it's the crew that's got to do that kind of stuff. So like, I don't know how I would react in an emergency. Like I would probably be one of the people that just wanted to push off right away. But yeah, that's pretty shitty.
Yeah, it's hard. We never know how we're going to react in these things.
No.
And a lot of accounts said that people were frozen with fear.
Yeah.
And I completely believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, your fight or flight takes over. Yeah. I mean, I'm not excusing it. It's a real bad situation.
Yeah. And I had not heard of it before.
No,
so
me
I wanted
neither.
to share it here.
Thank you for educating us. I really don't want to go on a boat anytime soon. I have no interest anymore.
We've talked a lot about the dangers of cruising.
Yeah, I'm scared.
Yeah, and all of this happened, as Katelyn so expertly pointed out at the very beginning of the story, all of this happened, what, about 20 years after the Titanic?
Yeah, it's just like, come on, everybody.
There were laws literally in place. They had the equipment. They needed to have the equipment. They just did not bother to learn to use it.
Well, I hope that cruises today are like 10 times more safe.
Yeah.
One can only hope.
I hope so too. Yeah. Fuck.
Wow. We did
Be careful on boats, y'all.
Be careful on boats, and yeah, take care of yourselves. It's, you know, we're getting spooky here. So go to Home Goods and get yourself a fake pumpkin. Have a pumpkin spice latte. Or my favorite, because I think pumpkin spice lattes are a little too sweet. Get the cold brew from Starbucks with the pumpkin cold foam. Holy shit, it's so good.
Ooh, that sounds right up my alley.
Yeah.
Because I too am like, pumpkin spice latte a little too sweet for me.
Too sweet, yeah. I'm like fully immersed in Disneyland Halloween treats TikTok.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to be setting aside quite a bit of money for the food portion of the Disneyland trip. We'll report back.
That's really how they get you.
Mm-hmm. But I've learned a few things from TikTok.
Ooh.
Yeah, like Chris and I are both bringing collapsible water bottles, so we don't have to buy water there. And then
Nice.
Chris's sister is going to Costco for snacks. So
nice.
yeah, there will be some snacks that we don't have to pay everything we own for. But I will spend quite a bit of money, I'm sure.
And I hope you have a lot of fun doing it.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks, everyone. I'll stop talking about Disneyland. Just kidding. I can never stop talking about Disneyland. We love you guys. Thanks for listening. And, you know, if you're a new listener or old listener, give us a 5-star review on your podcast listening platform, because it really does help get us noticed. And we really appreciate it. We see everyone.
Yeah, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever allows you to do so.
Yeah, Stitcher is gone, apparently.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
I know. Yeah.
So don't put a
I
review
was like,
there.
holy hell, don't put a review
no
there.
one will see it.
It'll go straight down the toy with the entire platform.
We love you guys. Yeah, happy early Halloween. And as always, bon voyage.
Happy hunting.
Thanks for listening to Anything Bones. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Anything Bones Podcast, or email us at anythingbonespodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you to Nick Kruger for our spooky music and Stephen Vetteroff
At Chubby Scrubby on Twitter,
for our jazzy vocals, and thank you to Camilla Franklin
at Camilla Strader on Instagram.
for our beautiful bony artwork. Please rate, review, and subscribe.
Welcome back to Anything Bones, the podcast where we talk about spooky occurrences.
Yeah, that we do. It's bones also.
It's bones and bone-related topics. And no, let's do that again. Oh my god, brain, wake up, be normal.